Can you just verify whether it started or not?
Yeah, that's right.
Sorted.
Should we start?
Yeah, I think we should start.
Okay. So, okay, I'm starting then. Okay.
Yeah.
Firstly, we welcome you all to this workshop on Introduction to Cloud Computing. So this session is presented by us. My name is Debasmita and I am an Alpha Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador. Tonight my co-host is Aindrila. So Aindrila, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, Debasmita, thank you. Hello everyone, I'm �ฬ𝗍𝗲 and I'm also an Alpha Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador. So, as we can see, a lot of people are joining us. Please write in the chat box from where you are joining from.
Okay. People are joining all over the world.
Yeah.
That's really awesome.
So starting with my presentation. Debasmita,
Yeah.
you just go to the next. Yeah, so let's get started. So if we are going to get familiar with Azure computing, we first need to get familiar with cloud computing as a whole. So we will be learning some of the terminologies of cloud computing and some of the standards that are implemented through Azure. In between, we have a fun quiz, and finally, we are going to deploy a website using Microsoft Azure. So in the next slide, we have a more detailed description of our today's workshop. Debasmita will demonstrate it thoroughly so that the agenda becomes more clear. So, Debasmita, would you like to continue with the next slide?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so I learned tech doodling recently, and many of you might have seen this in my LinkedIn or Twitter posts. And I thought of incorporating this within the workshop also. So this is a brief overview of what we are going to learn today. Our main highlights of this session would be to give you a brief on cloud computing. What are its advantages? Why should we focus on cloud computing? And we should be aware of the resources provided to us. Specifically, we'll be talking about Azure. Then we'll have a small fun quiz. And in the end, we'll show you how to deploy a website using Azure. And then I'll be dropping a link of the feedback form in the chat box, and then there will be a Q&A session where you can ask your questions and we'll try to answer them. And in between the session also, if you want to say something, kindly write it down in the chat box. We'll try to respond. So moving on to the next slide. So let's get started with cloud computing. What is cloud computing? Cloud computing is a way of accessing compute and storage systems without owning and doing active management of the resources. In today's world, compute and storage demands are very dynamic. Hence, purchasing, maintaining, and upgrading systems could be a huge investment of time and money. Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, and Google Cloud Platform provide compute and storage servers on demand and charge for what you use. These cloud services can be used to host static websites, e-commerce stores, companies' internal data, etc. It has proven to be extremely useful for startups where compute resources can vary over time. So in brief, cloud computing means that you are running your applications in someone else's data center. The cloud provider you are choosing is responsible for the physical hardware and facilities necessary to execute. Revolution in IT that's changing the way we consume compute services, as well as leveling the playing field for small and medium-sized businesses. In the past, hosting applications and data meant that we needed to purchase millions of dollars of hardware and software. These days, we have the options in the form of cloud computing. Cloud platforms provide the ability to leverage remote system on demand over the open internet, the ability to pay for only the resources that you use, and finally, the ability to scale up and scale back as needed. Now, moving on to the next slide, we'll be talking about some of the advantages of cloud computing. Cloud computing has many advantages. The most important are being highlighted over here. Number one is cost savings. Cost savings is the biggest benefit of cloud computing. It helps you to save substantial capital cost as it does not need any physical hardware investments. Also, you do not need any trained personnel to maintain the hardware. The buying and managing of equipment is done by the cloud service provider. The second point is backup and restore data. Once the data is stored in a cloud, it's easier to get the backup and recovery of that which is otherwise very time-taking process on premises. The third point is reliability. Reliability is one of the biggest pluses of cloud computing. You can always get instantly updated about the changes. The fourth point is automatic software integration. In the cloud, software integration is something that occurs automatically. Therefore, you don't need to take additional efforts to customize and integrate your applications as per your preferences. The last but not the least is unlimited storage capacity. The cloud offers almost limitless storage capacity. At any time, you can quickly expand your storage capacity with very nominal monthly fees. So let's move on to the next slide. Okay, so Aindrila, would you like to continue about cloud computing models?
Yes, Debasmita. So let's discuss about the cloud computing models. So a single type of cloud computing may not be accurate for all kinds of businesses. That is why there are many different cloud out there, each offering various kinds of deployments and services to help provide us with a precise solution for our needs. So, so cloud computing can be classified in terms of the following models. They are service model and deployment model. So, according to National Institute of Standards in Technologies, cloud computing have the following characteristics. Number one is on-demand self-service. Number two is ubiquitous network access. Number three, resource pooling. Number four, rapid elasticity. And the fifth one is pay-per-use. Additionally, they have defined the following three delivery models. Those are software as a service, platform as a service, and infrastructure as a service. So in most cases, the layers of cloud computing are represented as a pyramid with infrastructure as a service at the bottom, platform as a service at the middle, and software as a service sits at the top. So now we will be discussing about these three models. So first, software as a service. So a good example of software as a service is Google Docs. If you don't have Microsoft Office installed on your computer, you can use Google Docs to create and edit documents. Most software as a service applications are either free to use or require some form of subscription. The main disadvantage of software as a service is that it's a what you see is what you get form of cloud computing and currently limited to browser capabilities. Another drawback of software as a service is the security concerns that surrounds it. However, businesses looking for a more customized experience can use cloud at the infrastructure and platform level. So next we will discuss about platform as a service. So a platform as a service can be defined as a cloud computing platform that enables the creation, testing, and implementation of software easily and quickly without the complexities of buying and maintaining the infrastructure and additional software. Unlike software as a service, which is software delivered via the internet, platform as a service provides the platform for creation of applications over the internet. Some common examples of platform as a service include Google App Engine, Microsoft Azure, and Force.com. So now we will discuss about infrastructure as a service. So the final and the most fundamental layer of cloud computing is infrastructure as a service. It is sometimes referred to as hardware as a service. In this scenario, computing infrastructure, networking, and storage are delivered over the internet. Instead of heavily investing in the purchase of servers, network equipment, and data center maintenance, an enterprise can simply purchase these services on demand. So a good example of infrastructure as a service offering is Amazon Web Services. So as you all know, Amazon Web Services or AWS is a comprehensive, easy to use computing platform offered by Amazon. This platform is developed with a combination of infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and packaged software as a service offerings. So now we will move towards the next slide. Debasmita, would you like to continue?
Yeah, sure. So I would like to elaborate more on these three services. In infrastructure as a service-based service hardware, virtualization and networking services are provided by the vendor, while the user takes care of the operating system applications and data. In platform as a service, user manages applications along with data. A lot of times, the user wants to launch and maintain their own applications over the cloud, which is where this platform as a service comes into the picture. All the hardware, networking, and operating system needs are met by the service provider. The user can use any programming language of their own choice. Platform as a service services are cheaper when compared to software as a service. In the software as a service based model, all the compute and storage needs are met by the cloud service provider. The user only needs to upload and download data. That's it. Maintenance, downtime, upgradation, securities are all taken care by the service provider. Now moving on to the next slide. So we'll be talking about the cloud use cases. There are a lot of uses for the cloud. Enterprises can utilize the cloud to perform several tasks that traditionally required on-premises equipment and software. Over the past decade, cloud computing has been expanding at a remarkable rate and it has shown no signs of stopping. The number of use cases for the cloud is endless. Many cloud use cases which are commonly known are data storage, backups, and development tools, for example. Now, we have already talked about these services. You all might be knowing how to host, like we can host our websites and web apps in Azure and AWS, etc. We'll be also showing you how to deploy a website using Azure in the end. So stay tuned with us. So, Aindrila, would you like to elaborate more on these cloud use cases?
Yes, Debasmita. So now I will discuss about big data analytics. So cloud plays an enormous role in big data from both storage and analysis standpoint. With big data, storage in the form of tapes and disks just doesn't cut it anymore. The sheer volume of data means it would take hundreds of warehouses to store physical tapes. In the cloud, your business can store its data off premises in a cloud provider's remote data center. So you get an increase in flexibility to scale by adding or subtracting storage depending on fluctuations in data demands. Also, cloud storage in many cases presents data compliance solutions to business in data sensitive industries that there are more than likely collecting big data. So think about big data as content and cloud computing as infrastructure used to analyze that content. So big data holds the key to the consumer mind. Hosting this data in a cloud environment gives data scientists the ability to operate with greater efficiency, allows cross-departmental data sharing, and removes the need for expensive upfronts cost of data storage. Big data is quite literally massive, but cloud computing can be infinite. So the next point is app development and app testing. So developers used to need to build a development environment every time they needed to start a project. Thanks to the cloud abundance of storage and development tools, that is no longer an issue. Developers can utilize as many computing resources as necessary right from the get-go. And I would request everyone to mute their mics. So, some cloud providers also provide specific developer tools for building and testing applications. Instances you build in the cloud can be terminated as soon as you do not need them anymore. So, the next slide will be presented by Debasmita. Debasmita.
Yeah. So this is another slide where I again did some tech doodling. So serverless computing, it's a method of providing backend services on an as-used basis. A serverless provider allows users to write and deploy code without the hassle of worrying about the underlying infrastructure. Overlapping with platform as a service, that is with Microsoft Azure, serverless computing enables developers to build applications faster by eliminating the need for them to manage infrastructure. With serverless applications, the cloud service provider automatically provisions and scales and manages the infrastructure required to run the code. The name serverless comes from the fact that the tasks associated with infrastructure provisioning and management are invisible to the developer. Serverless computing helps teams increase their productivity and brings products to market faster. It allows organizations to better optimize resources and stay focused more on innovation. Now we'll talk about why an end-to-end serverless platform is important. Why is it required? A serverless approach offers developers, teams, and organizations a level of abstraction that enables them to minimize the time and resources invested in infrastructure management. Every component of an application benefits from this approach, like from computing and the database engine to messaging, analytics, and AI. Using an end-to-end serverless platform is the best way to ensure that the organization gains the maximum benefit from going serverless. Someone changed the slide. Yeah. So we'll be talking about 3 well-known deployment models for cloud computing. So when we talk about understanding the cloud, we are talking about understanding the terminologies and the services that are deployed in private cloud infrastructures as well as public cloud infrastructures. We actually have 3 different types of clouds: public, private, and hybrid. Hybrid is really a combination of public and private cloud offerings. So let's take a look at the differences between these various clouds. But before we do that, let's talk about on-premises. So when we talk about an on-premises infrastructure, we are talking about an infrastructure that's deployed within your company. So you manage the servers, the hardware, the services, the firewalls, and pretty much everything in your organization is being managed by internal administrators. And you are the one who is responsible for all these services as they function and provide the functionalities for the users in your user population. So your users can consume those services, and as they consume them, you need to update and manage the hardware that the services live on. On-premises infrastructures have been around for many years, and many administrators today are very familiar with managing enterprise services on-premises. So I would like to hand over to Aindrila. So would you like to elaborate more on these models?
Yes, sure. So, as we talk about moving to the cloud, we look at how these types of offerings get transferred into a cloud-like functionalities or experience. So, for example, we have the private cloud, and the private cloud is really an on-premises cloud experience, whereas a user and a user can be an administrator has a portal-based environment from which they can manage the infrastructure, provision service, deploy applications, manage websites, and all of these things can be controlled and managed from a portal-based environment, almost hiding the infrastructure that is in the background and exposing only those portals from managing to administrator. So a private cloud is a software that manages the private cloud and exposes all the functionalities in the portal. So a good example of private cloud software system is System Center 2012 by Microsoft, which provides a private cloud infrastructure. It is typically stored in private data center and you are still responsible for the hardware and software and all the network services. So the level of responsibility that an internal organization has for a private cloud is really no different than an on-premises infrastructure. So now let's talk about public cloud. Now you know Google Cloud Platform, Amazon Web Services, and of course Microsoft Azure. You have heard about Microsoft Azure and you understand that Microsoft Azure provides this public cloud functionality. The public cloud uses a leasing based model, which is basically a pay as you go or pay as you use type of infrastructure. So, as you consume resources, whether those be applications or workloads, services or infrastructure as a whole, you pay based on your usage, and that usage may be the amount of data that is stored in the cloud infrastructure as well as the services offered by virtual machines, for example. So, a great advantage of a public cloud infrastructure is that you have the entire infrastructure that's already there, and if you need to deploy a new application or you need to deploy new server, you can do that very quickly and at a very low cost because you don't need to purchase new hardware to support that additional infrastructure. There is also hybrid cloud. It's a true mix of public and private solution, whereas you can have your own internal private data center and then you may choose to store some workloads, some services, some applications over into the public cloud. You may store these public cloud because that may be the right environment for them. It may be less costly to deploy that data or store that data into the cloud rather than purchase new storage hardware to move that data over. So you truly get to choose based on the environment for either your data, your service, or your applications based on your security needs. So Debasmita, would you like to continue with the next slide?
Sure. So here comes the moment you all have been probably waiting for. So Microsoft Azure is one of the topmost cloud platforms and products of Microsoft, which is made to deliver scalable service, application services, messaging facilities, data storage services, and efficient databases. So why should we choose Azure? The aim of the Azure cloud is to give persistent service by an efficient data storage, and it helps the company to give an instant and accurate solution with available data in the database in every component of the industry. Security is the most important thing that should be given to every customer, and Azure provides that. It's not like only the large scale industry has to protect the data, right? The data and service should also be protected for small scale industries, even for our personal users. The security is equally provided to all the users from business to business and to business to customers. With the help of a single sign on feature, it is easily accessible to all the users. Now, Azure tracks the data of the user and their status of access and cross-checks with the database that contains all the user, admin, and employees and customers' details. So if there is a hole and any hacker tries to enter, it generates an alarm and sends the alert to prevent data snap or data loss. It is more location specific and has control in all its integrated devices. Okay, so we'll be playing a quiz right now.
It's time.
Yeah, I hope you all are excited. So now join the link which is present on the slide, and I'll be dropping the link in the chat box also.
Okay, Debasmita, can I share the screen?
Yeah, please, please.
So everybody join in the link.
We need the pin.
Sorry.
We need the pin.
Yeah. Aindrila will be giving it.
So is my screen visible?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm also pasting the pin over here. So all of you join.
Can you try to mute the music because we can barely hear you?
Yeah. Aindrila mute the music. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. So everybody can see the names on our screen.
Yep.
Yes. "21" have joined. We are waiting for more players.
I promise I won't be as fast.
"28" people have joined. Everybody joined? Yeah? Can we start?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
People are still joining. Wait for another
Yes.
1 minute. Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody just go to this website and spin. Okay, I think we should start now. Okay. Let's start the game. You just have to answer questions within the given time. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. Okay, Purnima is in the top. Time's up. Satosh is in the top. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. Pratham. Okay, Pratham is in the first place. Okay, and then Azmi and Sid. Okay. Right. Yay, Azmi is in the top. Okay, Azmi is in the first
I
place.
think, did some mistake? I think I will. Okay, I'm leaving and join.
Sorry. Sorry, is anyone saying something?
I think he left and he'll join again. He said that only, I think.
Okay.
No worries, you continue.
Okay. So the next question is great. Azmi. Okay. Cloud and cloud computing represents what? It's an easy question, right? Great. Again, a true and false. Cool. Great. So our next question is on the screen. Okay, let's move on to the next question.
Oh no, I think I got this one wrong.
Questions are very easy, isn't it?
Damn it.
Let's see who wins.
You already know.
Yeah.
Yay!
Ooh.
Yay!
Well done.
Great, great. That's great.
Okay. Yeah, I'll be sharing the presentation once again. Okay, so we'll be talking about the major cloud providers now. So, what is Microsoft Azure used for? Like, because Microsoft Azure consists of numerous service offerings, its use cases are extremely diverse. Like, from starting from running virtual machines or containers in the cloud is one of the most popular uses for Microsoft Azure. These compute resources can host infrastructure components like DNS servers, Windows Server services such as Internet Information Services, or even third-party applications. Microsoft also supports the use of third-party operating systems like Linux kernel. Azure is also commonly used as a platform for hosting databases in the cloud. Microsoft offers serverless relational databases such as Azure SQL and non-relational databases like NoSQL. In addition, the platform is frequently used for backup and disaster recovery. Many organizations use Azure Storage as archive in order to meet their long-term data retention requirements. Now, moving on to the next slide. So, here we'll be comparing three major cloud platforms, that is the Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, and Google Cloud Platform. So on the basis of availability zone, AWS has 66 availability zones with 12 more on the way. And Azure has 54 regions worldwide and is available in 140 countries all around the world. Google Cloud Platform has been made available in 20 regions around the world with 3 more on their way. On the basis of market shares and growth rate, AWS is leading with around 30% of public cloud share in its name. Microsoft Azure is on the second place, owning around 16% of the worldwide market share. Google on the third place owns up to 10% of the market share worldwide. On the basis of users, AWS is the oldest player in the cloud market. It has bigger community support and user base, for example Netflix, BMW, etc. Azure is also gaining its share of high-profile customers with time. Azure has almost 80% of Fortune 500 companies as its customers like HP, Apple, etc. And Google shares the same infrastructure as that of Google Search and YouTube major clients. So some of the major clients of Google Cloud are HSBC, PayPal, etc. So moving on to the next slide now. So here we'll be showing you the portal. So Aindrila, could you please share your screen and show them the portal, and then we'll be talking about the Azure student benefits.
Yeah, of course. You shared the link in the chat box.
Yeah.
So is my screen visible? Debasmita?
Yes, your screen is visible.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. So if you click on the link Debasmita has provided right now, this window should appear. So this is Microsoft Azure portal. So you can start for free from this button over here, and you just have to sign up. As you can see, you already have an Azure account. As I already have an account and have already signed up, so it's showing like that. But if you are a new user, you can always sign up. And if you are a student, you don't need a credit card. You just have to provide your school's email address, and then you can sign up here. And you will get $100 credit for 12 months if you are a student and you are 18 or above. So to deploy a website, you need to create a resource first. So to create a resource, just click on this button over here, create a resource, and then search WordPress, as we are going to deploy a WordPress website. So this window will appear on your screen, and you can simply click on this create button. So as you can see, I just have to provide the following details. So I'm giving the app name. Okay. So I have selected my Visual Studio Enterprise subscription. If you have any other subscription, you can choose that also. And now we are going to create a new resource group. So let's click on this tiny button over here, create new, and then just type a name and click on OK. So now I have to choose a database provider from this menu. So in this case, we have to choose MySQL in app, this option. So everything okay. Yeah. Okay. So now let's create Yeah, so as you can see in my notifications, it's saying deploying in progress. So if you click on this, you can see deployment in progress. Just wait for a few minutes. Yeah, so as you can see, your deployment is complete. So I just need to go here, go to resources, and I can see, yeah, so I can see the URL over here. So if I click on this URL, it will redirect me to the WordPress site. Yeah, so now I just need to choose my language. So I'm choosing English. Continue. Yeah, so now I need to give a title of my website. So I'm giving this title, and then I just need to give the username and the password. Okay. So now I need to provide my email address and then click on this button, install WordPress, and it will start installing shortly. Yeah, so as you can see, we just need to log in, and now click on this login button. And now you are in WordPress dashboard. So from here you can create your site. You can choose this appearance button and click on this themes option, and you can choose whatever theme you want for your website. Suppose I'm choosing this theme, so I just need to activate this from here. So just click on this activate button, and now you can customize it from here. And if you want to visit your site, you can just click in this link and it will redirect you to your site, which is live right now. So as you can see, our website is live. If you make any changes, the changes will be shown over here. If you refresh it, the changes will show here. And yeah, so this was about hosting our website in Azure. So Debasmita.
Yeah, I'll be presenting the presentation once again. So, we did this, and now we are here. So this link would take you to Azure Marketplace. Now, what is Azure Marketplace? Azure Marketplace provides access and information on solutions and services available from Microsoft and its partners. Customers can discover, try, or buy cloud software solutions built on for Azure. Azure Marketplace helps connect users with Microsoft partners, independent software vendors, and startups. Customers can find, try, purchase, and provision applications and services from hundreds of leading service providers. All solutions and services are certified to run on Azure. The catalog provides many industry categories like open source container platforms, virtual machine images, databases, application build, and software deployment. So, yeah. And so, yeah, that was all about our today's presentation. We hope all of you have enjoyed it, and if you have any queries, you can either write it down in the chat box or you can unmute and ask. We'll try to answer everyone. Now, I'll be sharing the link of a feedback form with you all. I'll drop it in the chat box.
I'm just sharing my screen so that everybody can see the link properly. So is it visible? Is the link visible? Can you please confirm?
Yeah, it's visible.
Okay, okay.
Yes, the link is visible for everyone now.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Now it is accessing me.
Okay. Okay, thank you,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you. Just fill this form and we will provide you with the participation certificate and the resources.
By the way, it was really very much awesome. Your first event and you nailed it.
Thank
Thank
you
you so much.
so much.
Yes, ma'am. From me also.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
Thank you so much for your support.